This video is on how to change the impeller in the Olympia. You're going to need a 7/16 wrench. One with a ratcheting gear is preferable because it goes a lot faster. I'm going to remove all the bolts. And this should be done before the impeller actually stops working, because you can just flip the impeller over and flip it back and forth if you catch it before it gets to the point of being completely shot. If you wait until it's completely shot, then it'll be too worn out and you'll have no hope of just flipping it. You'll have to replace it with a new one. And that is, wow. So this is been run dry for a very long time. The gasket's completely shot. Now, in order to get out the impeller, sometimes it can be a little tough depending on how bad it is, but if you grab onto it with a couple of pliers at either end, you can usually slide it out pretty evenly. So now if we look at this impeller has probably been run dry for maybe a month or something like that. So you see these lines here? These lines right here are the wear marks from right here. Now this is all the dust from the impeller, and that should never get like that. This thing, as soon as you notice that you're starting to have the wash water system not pick up water, and you can see that by looking in here when you're flooding, you should be able to see water streaming out of here. As soon as it's not streaming out of here consistently, or it's doing it in really starts and stops, then that means your pump is starting to wear down. And so you see these big grooves. There should never be any grooves at all. As soon as it's starting to wear a little bit, it should be getting flipped over to the other side. So you just take it out, you turn it around, and you put it back in, and then it runs these in the other direction, and it wears on this side, and you can keep flipping that back and forth, and it'll wear evenly, and it'll prevent it from ever getting like this. This thing has been thoroughly abused. So I'm probably going to pause the video for a while to clean all this dust out of here, because that's going to keep it from running properly, and then I'll show the installation of the new one. Okay, so I finished getting this all cleaned up. Now this is what the impeller looks like when it's brand new. So you see how straight all these are? And this outside edge, this rounded part, that's the part that wears down. And as long as you keep flipping it over before it completely gets trashed and worn out and grooved like this one did, then it'll continue to pick up water and it'll last quite a long time. In order to install these, you need to sort of fold these over enough that you can get them all in and started to feed. And you don't really need to be worried about which way they're facing, because as soon as you turn on the pump for the first time, they will automatically turn around and face the correct direction. So once you get it to the point that they're all in there, you can just push it and they'll slide the rest of the way in against the center shaft there. And like I said, you don't need to worry about which ways these are facing, because as soon as you turn this on, it'll just spin so that these are all going the right way. They'll just fold over. Now, if the gasket was in fine shape, you could just reuse it. In this case, this one's trashed, so we're going to put in a new gasket. They're stored with the wash water pumps. And just make sure that you line up the gasket. You see this edge is asymmetrical. You line it up with the pump so that it's in the same orientation. I took this and I cleaned it all off as well. You'll see this groove here that's worn out. Well, that used to face this way, and a while ago I drilled it out in order to have it face this way so we get better suction on this side. So you just want to make this groove part face the back and then hang it accordingly with the lining up the top hole first, putting that that bolt in, and then once you have it lined up, you can then just line up the rest of them accordingly. And it's best to just line everything up, put everything in just finger tight at first, and then once everything is in finger tight, then afterwards you can go around and tighten up all of them with the wrench. Okay, I've just finished putting all the bolts in hand tight, and then when I tighten them up, I'm going to tighten them up the same way you tighten the lug nuts on a car tire. So you're going to go in an opposite bolt pattern. So you're going to go kind of like over, cross, back, cross, and that's just in order to make sure that you've got it evenly spread out. Ooh, wasn't quite on there. And that just makes sure that everything's lined up and the distribution of the tension is properly spread out. And then the last thing I do before actually running the new impeller is I just take the hose and I grab the hose that we used to fill the wash water, just stick it in there, just run a little bit of water through it, and that's just going to flush out